At least Garrett has a real engineering career at Boeing, not playing with robot toys in his garage. Dad's voice carried across the engagement party, 50 guests turning from the champagne tower to watch him clap my older brother on the shoulder with obvious pride. I was adjusting the congratulatory banner near the buffet table when I realized this wasn't just a toast to Garrett's engagement. It was a public comparison designed to humiliate me. My father stood at the makeshift stage in the country club ballroom, microphone in hand, about to deliver what he clearly thought was inspiring tough love. The robot toys he was dismissing were autonomous surgical instruments that 17 hospitals were currently licensing for $140,000 per unit annually. Did my family really think I'd been playing in my garage for 6 years while major medical institutions were paying me millions in licensing fees? "We're so proud of Garrett," Mom added, standing beside Dad with her arm around my brother's fiancée Emma. "A real aerospace engineer. Stable job, benefits, 401k. That's what success looks like. That's what we hoped both our sons would achieve." Both our sons. As if I didn't exist in the success column. Garrett had the grace to look uncomfortable, but he didn't correct them. He just smiled and accepted the praise while I stood by the catering table, apparently invisible. "Now, we love Julian," Dad continued, and I braced myself for what was coming. "We do. But it's time someone said what we're all thinking. Son, you're 35 years old. This robotics hobby has gone on long enough. It's time to grow up and get a real job like your brother." 50 people murmured agreement. Aunt Patricia nodded enthusiastically. Uncle Frank raised his beer in support. Emma's parents looked at me with poorly concealed pity. "We've actually set up some interviews," Mom said brightly. "My friend Linda's husband works at a manufacturing plant. They need quality control engineers. It's not glamorous, but it's steady work. Real work. Real work. As opposed to the work that had generated $9.6 million in revenue last year." I checked my watch. 7:58 p.m. The quarterly licensing payment from MedTech Solutions was scheduled to deposit at 8 p.m. Their automated payment system ran like clockwork on the last Friday of every quarter. "The thing about Julian," Aunt Patricia announced to nearby guests, "is that he's always been a dreamer. Even as a kid, always building things, taking things apart. It's sweet, but at some point, you have to accept that dreams don't pay bills. My dreams had paid for the down payment on my house, my fully loaded Tesla Model X, and my investment portfolio. But they didn't know that because I'd never advertised it. I actually brought some resumes," Uncle Frank said, pulling papers from his jacket pocket. "Companies that are hiring. Engineering firms, manufacturing, even some tech support positions. You've got skills, Julian. You just need to apply them somewhere productive. Somewhere productive. Not in the robotics lab where I held 14 patents and had licensing agreements with 23 companies." Garrett finally spoke up. "Dad, maybe we should focus on the engagement. This is supposed to be about Emma and me." "And it is," Dad said. "But part of celebrating your success is helping your brother find his path. We want both our sons to be successful. Right now, we've got 1 out of 2. Emma's mother whispered something to her husband, loud enough for me to hear. The other one still lives at home, I think. Sad, really. Some people just don't have the drive. I didn't live at home. I lived in a 3,200 square foot house in Bellevue with a dedicated robotics lab, machine shop, and testing facility. But I'd stopped correcting these assumptions years ago." My watch vibrated. 7:59 p.m. "So what do you say, Julian?" Dad asked, turning to me directly, the microphone amplifying his voice across the ballroom. "Ready to put away the toys and join the real world? We're all here to support you." Everyone was looking at me now, 50 pairs of eyes full of pity, concern, judgment, waiting for me to admit defeat and accept their help. My watch vibrated again. 8 p.m. Bank of America, deposit alert. Commercial account 7392. Amount, $2 400,000.00. Source, MedTech Solutions Inc., Q4 licensing. New balance, $3 847. 293.16. $2.4 million. Just like clockwork. I looked at my watch, then at my father, then at the expectant crowd. "I appreciate everyone's concern about my career," I said calmly, walking toward the stage. "Really, I do. It's touching that you all think I need help. We just want what's best for you," Mom said gently. "I know. And what's best for me is continuing exactly what I'm doing." I pulled out my phone. "Dad, you mentioned real work. Can I show everyone what that looks like?" He looked confused but handed me the microphone. Sure, son. If you want to explain your hobbies. Not hobbies. Work. My career for the past 6 years. I connected my phone to the venue's display screen, the same one that had been showing photos of Garrett and Emma's relationship timeline. The screen changed to a document. Patent US 10,847,392B2. Autonomous robotic surgical instrument with haptic feedback. Inventor, Julian Pierce Morrison. Filed, March 2019. Granted, December 2020. Status, active. The room went quiet. This is my first major patent, I explained. An autonomous surgical instrument that allows surgeons to perform minimally invasive procedures with AI-assisted precision. The haptic feedback system provides real-time force measurements, reducing surgical errors by 43% in clinical trials. I swiped to the next screen. Current licensees asterisk. MedTech Solutions Incorporated. Surgical Robotics International. Boston Medical Systems. 14 additional medical technology companies. 17 companies currently license this technology. They pay annual fees to use the patent in their surgical robots. Garrett had put down his champagne glass. Emma was staring at the screen. Uncle Frank had gone very still. I pulled up my licensing agreement summary. Julian Morrison, patent licensing revenue. Patent portfolio, 14 active patents. Active licenses, 23 agreements. Annual revenue 2023, $9.6 million. Quarterly payment average, $2.4 million. 9.6 million, someone whispered. Last year, yes. This year is tracking higher. We're at about $10.2 million year to date. I swiped to my bank alert, the one that had just arrived. In fact, my quarterly payment from MedTech Solutions deposited about 90 seconds ago. $2.4 million. It's automatic, happens every quarter like clockwork. I held up my watch, showing the notification to those nearby. Deposit, $2,400,000.00. Dad had gone pale. That's not possible. It's very possible. It's contractual, actually. Every company that licenses my patents pays quarterly fees. Some pay per unit royalties. MedTech pays a flat licensing fee because they use my technology across their entire product line. Mom sat down heavily in a nearby chair. But you work from home. In your garage. I work in my private laboratory in my house, yes. I don't need an office. I need equipment, space, and time to innovate. I've been issued 14 patents in 6 years. I have 9 more patent applications pending. My technology is currently being used in surgeries in 17 countries. Aunt Patricia found her voice. Why didn't you tell us? I did tell you. Repeatedly. I told you I was working on surgical robotics. You heard playing with robots. I told you I'd filed patents. You heard hobby projects. I told you I had licensing agreements. You said that sounded complicated and changed the subject. I pulled up another document, a news article from MedTech Journal. Morrison's haptic feedback system revolutionizes surgical precision. Featured in MedTech Journal, July 2023. I was featured in the leading medical technology journal. I posted about it on Facebook. 3 people liked it. Uncle Frank, you commented cool. He looked away. I've spoken at medical technology conferences. I've been interviewed on engineering podcasts. I published a paper in the Journal of Robotic Surgery that's been cited 247 times. I've done all the things that real engineers do. You just assume that because I work from home and don't have a traditional job, I must not be doing anything legitimate. Garrett stepped forward. Julian, I had no idea. I mean, I knew you did patent stuff, but I didn't realize. You didn't realize because you never asked. None of you asked. You saw that I wasn't working at Boeing or Microsoft or some other big company, and you assumed I wasn't successful. Emma's father, a surgeon himself, was scrolling on his phone. Dr. Patterson, the chief of surgery at my hospital, uses Morrison technology. He raves about it. You're that Morrison? I'm that Morrison, yes. Your instruments have a 43% reduction in surgical errors. That's revolutionary. You've probably saved hundreds of lives. That's the goal. Build technology that makes surgery safer, more precise, more accessible. Dad finally found his voice. But your house, your car, you live so modestly. I live in a 3,200 square foot house with a professional machine shop and robotics lab. I drive a Tesla Model X. I have a vacation home in San Juan Islands. I live comfortably, Dad. I just don't live flashily. There's a difference. Why not? Uncle Frank asked, genuinely confused. If you're making millions, why not show it? Because showing wealth isn't the same as building wealth. I could buy a mansion and a Ferrari and throw expensive parties. Or I could invest in my work, save for the future, and live according to my values rather than your expectations. I pulled up one more document, my investment portfolio summary. Morrison Investment Portfolio. Vanguard Index Funds, $4.2 M. Municipal Bonds, $1.8 M. Real Estate Holdings, $2.1 M. Cash Reserves, $3.8 M. Total Liquid Assets, $11.9 M. Nearly $12 million in investments. Plus my house, my lab equipment, and the ongoing value of my patent portfolio. I'm worth approximately $18 million at 35 years old. But sure, I should definitely take that quality control job at the manufacturing plant. The silence was deafening. Julian, Mom said quietly, tears in her eyes. We've been so wrong about you. You saw what you expected to see. You expected me to fail because I wasn't following a traditional path. So every choice I made, working from home, living modestly, focusing on my research, you interpreted as failure rather than strategy. Garrett looked devastated. I've been bragging about my Boeing job while you've been building an empire. I haven't been building an empire. I've been doing work I love that happens to be financially successful. There's a difference. But we've been comparing our careers, and mine is. Your career is fine, Garrett. You're a good aerospace engineer. You have a stable job you enjoy. That's valuable. But it's not more valuable than what I do just because you go to an office and I work from a lab. Dad approached slowly, the microphone forgotten. Son, I owe you an apology. A massive apology. You owe me respect. The apology is secondary. We should have believed in you. You should have asked about my work. Really asked, not just made assumptions. You should have been curious about what I was building instead of dismissing it as toys. Emma's father was still scrolling. Your patents are licensed by every major surgical robotics company in the industry. You're one of the leading innovators in the field. I try to be. The field is advancing rapidly. I have to stay ahead. Are you hiring? He asked seriously. Because my hospital would pay significant money for direct access to your innovations. I occasionally consult, but mostly I license my patents. It's more efficient. I develop the technology, patent it, license it broadly, then move on to the next innovation. My watch buzzed again, a text from my patent attorney. Saw your Q4 payment cleared. Congratulations. Also, Boston Medical wants to discuss expanding their license. Call Monday. More money coming. Always more money when you owned intellectual property that people needed. What happens now? Mom asked. Where do you go from here? Same place I've been going. My lab. I have 3 projects in development. One is a neural feedback system for prosthetics. Another is an AI-assisted diagnostic tool for identifying surgical complications in real time. The third is proprietary, still in early testing. All from your garage, Aunt Patricia said wonderingly. All from my professional laboratory that happens to be in my house, yes. Garrett raised his glass. To my brother Julian, who's apparently been changing the world while we thought he was playing with robots. A few people laughed nervously. Others raised their glasses, unsure how to process the revelation. I didn't raise my glass. This was supposed to be about your engagement, Garrett. I'm sorry it turned into this. Don't be. I think we all needed this lesson. What lesson? That success doesn't look like we think it looks like. That innovation happens in unexpected places. That we should ask questions before making assumptions. Emma hugged me. For what it's worth, I think what you do is amazing. Garrett talks about you like you're lost, but you're not lost at all. No, I know exactly where I am. The party continued, but everything had shifted. People approached me carefully, asking real questions about my work. Uncle Frank apologized profusely. Aunt Patricia admitted she'd been judgmental. Emma's father wanted to discuss collaboration opportunities. But the moment that mattered came later, when Dad pulled me aside. I've spent 6 years treating you like a disappointment, he said quietly. You're actually the most successful person in this family. Success isn't a competition, Dad. I know, but I should have seen yours. I should have celebrated it. You should have asked about it. He nodded. I will from now on. Tell me about the neural feedback prosthetics. What are you building? For the first time in years, I told him. Really told him. About the technology, the challenges, the potential impact. He listened, actually listened, asking intelligent questions, showing genuine interest. We talked for an hour while the party wound down around us. When I finally left, driving my Tesla through Seattle's streets toward my house with its laboratory and machine shop and walls covered in patents, I thought about Dad's speech. At least Garrett has a real engineering job. But I had 14 patents, 23 licensing agreements, and $2.4 million that had deposited while he was talking. They'd said to stop pretending. The bank notification clearing live had done all my talking. Sometimes the best response to doubt isn't argument. It's just letting the numbers speak for themselves. $2.4 million. Quarterly. Like clockwork.